Thank you, Professor Sakri. And again, it's a fantastic seminar. On January 24, 2020, an article in The Lancet, Clinical Features of Patients Infected with 2019 Novel Coronavirus in Wuhan, China, became one of the very first that brought global attention to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm here representing Elsevier. We are a company that has worked with the community to build trust and facilitating a trusted dialogue with the broader society for more than 140 years. We published more than 2,500 journals, one of them being The Lancet, and we work to provide analytics to academia, industry, and government. It's interesting in that the COVID-19 pandemic, it actually resides against the backdrop of planetary climate change, pushing weather to the extremes, as we have seen recently. We're also entering the 6th period of mass extinction of species. So you can say that society faces existential threats to life as we know it. To mitigate such profound changes, trust in science is actually key. The majority of citizens, it's interesting, complied with the very tough measures that has been put in place during the pandemic, and the acceptance of vaccines has been high. This would not have been possible without a trust in science. While real science is seeing triumphs in terms of vaccines moving from labs to humans in a remarkable short period of time, actually. We also see the rise of fake science, no science, or to be a bit blunt, nonsense. A recent study from the Center for Digital Health in the US showed that anti-vaccination influencers amplify fake science via social media such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, while big tech, in this sense, also actually try to curb this. It has often been too little and too late, and we can come back to that in the discussion later on. It's interesting, one of the findings in the recent Edelman Trust Barometer showed that people trust information from their employer more than from governments or media. So there is a great responsibility for businesses such as the one I represent to be transparent, factual, inclusive, which are key ingredients for trust. So working together with academia and government, as industry, we have a joint mission to make sure that real science is understood and turned into positive actions, and that we can disarm fake science before it causes more harm. So with this, I look forward to our discussion today, and I will be very happy to provide more concrete examples of what we have been doing and how we are collaborating with the community. So I stop there.
Thank you very much for your first comment. Let me proceed to the second speaker, Dr. Edson from the WikiMe School of Communication at NTU Singapore. Edson, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Sakri, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you this morning. I'm a former journalist, and so I have a particular bias for the news media. And I would preface my remarks by saying that I agree that science communication is particularly important in this period during a pandemic, but also science communication is rarely direct from scientists to the public. It's usually mediated by schools, by government, and also by the news media. So I think trust in the news media should also be an important consideration. But we are now in a period when the public can get information outside the news media. They can share information, they can share things that they witness outside the gates of the news media, so to speak. So now more than ever, the public has autonomy over their quote unquote news consumption. But such freedom should also come with responsibility now that the public can get share information however they want, then they should also be responsible for verification, for authenticating the information that they get. But we know, based on experience, based on what we're witnessing, that the public is not ready to engage in such large-scale form of verification. First, they might not have the time to verify everything they see on social media. Second, they may not have the proper training to engage in correct verification strategies. And third, they may not be motivated to engage in verification all the time. It's just cognitively taxing to verify everything that you see. And that is a source of concern. And that is probably why we're seeing a rise in fake news, because people have the freedom to share and get information that they want, but they may not have the capability and the capacity to engage in verification. And so we still need a group to verify and vet information online and offline. And that's the role of the news media. But in many countries, we see the news media being vilified, being attacked. We see the news media freedom being curtailed. And I think that is a source of concern. And it's partly why we're seeing a rise in fake news, which is definitely very concerning, especially during a health crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Edson. Thank you very much for keeping to the time. Let me go ahead with Dr. Emma. Emma, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Professor Zachary. Good morning, everybody. Firstly, thank you, organizers, for having me. I'm very, very honored to be part of this webinar alongside influential speakers who are making waves in respective areas and through the work that they do. Chair of CSAN, Prof. Zachary, I must say I feel very humbled to be part of this session moderated by such an esteemed figure in the science community here in Malaysia, in the region as well as globally. This is my first engagement with CSAN, and I'm happy to share my knowledge and experience on this platform, and I hope to continue on to contribute in my capacity to promote meaningful collaboration between academics, decision makers, as well as professionals in the region. What I hope to be sharing with all of you here today is a snippet of some of the research and academic work that I do in UKM and I'm currently involved with, as well as highlighting some of the works that my health communication team in UKM is currently focused on, and as well as collaboration that we have across different universities and different partners. I hope to also provide some insights as well as my personal observation on public trust in science, particularly in the Malaysian setting. So we'll go into that later on in the discussion. But what I would like to first begin is just to say that science is as good as public trust in science. I think it's a simple statement, but it's a very important statement. Because scientific discoveries would only benefit the public if the public believes in it and have enough trust to use and benefit from it. So this means that the public must be willing to trust the process, to trust the people behind the process, and to trust the innovation itself. And it's something that people don't see. It's like religion, right? Science is something that people don't see in front of their eyes, or they might see, but they don't recognize it. So to really see the success of science in our society, people must continue to believe and have faith and trust. So it is not enough to say that the public should trust scientists because scientists know better or because they know more. Trust cannot be forced. I think we all knew this. Trust must be earned and it must be continually nurtured. Unfortunately, science has sometimes lost the trust of the public through researchers' own missteps or violations of that trust. Other times, trust is tainted by political figures, anti-science communities. Dr. Edson mentioned about misinformation and other contradicting beliefs. And I believe that this is something that we shall try to unpack in today's webinar, and hopefully you all can learn from each other through this sharing session. Okay, I think that's all to begin. Prof. Zachary, over back to you.
Thank you, Emma. Let me go ahead now with the fourth speaker, Dr. Lego. Dr. Lego, you have 3 minutes.
Yes,
Go
thank
ahead.
you. Yes, thank you, Professor Zachary, for the opportunity for me to, to speak in here and to give, my share about, trust in science, which is wonderful. So I may say in general that people, they understand science, they know science, but trusting so-so, because they think that, the lay people in general, science is not part of them. Science is part of the, the scientists. They are part in the laboratory. I don't know, what's happened. So I just use science. It's part of us, but, trusting so-so. But the thing is, and then through social media at the moment, and because of COVID outbreak, science is everywhere, and lots of information about what's going on with COVID and how to combat the virus and everything. But there is no doubt that social media is quite important in shaping the public opinion, public image about science and technology issues. But too many information related to science. And then they are all circulated through social media from various resources, trusted and not trusted, and sometimes it's twisted as well. And that is make the people confused, the public confused about that. So we've got to be careful to provide science to to the public and also to society, because that they are confused and trusting in science, and then it's getting lower because of that. And also that the cultural behavior, I don't know in other countries, but in Indonesia, the cultural behavior is quite strong, especially in rural areas. So sometimes, that the protocol of COVID, they understand that now we've got to have a kind of physical distance. But it is very common if we meet someone, we shake hands or maybe hugging. Maybe in Malaysia, it's just the same thing as well. So it's difficult, to avoid that, although they know that is one of the reasons that we should avoid transferring virus. So in this case, that the perception of science because of this COVID, it's changed as well, has changed. So they rely on science more compared with before. And because that now they seek information, that trusted information, that where they should do. And this is also a part of our that we've got to provide our program and to provide a celebrity scientist. Now, scientists is become popular because of that, because of COVID. And then they help penetrating science to public, help public become more engaged in science, especially to combat, or to avoid what is it that we should do and we should not do. So, for example, that we can invite, the medical doctor to explain about the virus. And then it's getting popular on and on. So we have a podcast, we've got Instagram, and then through Facebook and everything. And that helps because, that if scientists go through public directly, so they can understand, oh, this is the scientist.
We lost Dr. Lego. I think we should proceed with the last panelist, Dr. Tuan from Vietnam. Dr. Tuan, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Good morning from Vietnam. Thank you to organizer for inviting me to join this forum. I'm very happy to meet all of you, and hope that in the future we can, from myself, can learn from you a lot for this topic. So from Vietnam, I would like to discuss and share some experience from Vietnam about this topic related to the problem related to this topic. So before going into detail, I would like to discuss, because this topic is very important in this time, because in the context of the crisis, public health crisis like COVID, it's very necessary to have the right information from science for the government and the decision making, for the decision maker to make to have the decision, good decision for the whole country. I think this is very important right now. And I would like to discuss in the sorry, because I don't have the diagram, so please imagine that I would like to discuss in the diagram with the triangle with the government, the people, and the science. And the public interest is between inside, and all the relationship between the government, people, and the science to be connect each other. So I think that the role of the scientific here that need to provide the right information and with transparency to the both government and the people. And the people can understand what their benefit from the understanding the situation and the government also. And the scientific here, I think that not only from the information from the related to medicine, but also the scientific in the other sector like the social and economic. What the, for example, in the context of the COVID, what is the information that provides to government, that how the severity of the COVID pandemic, and how to what is the best way to control the COVID. But also the government need to have the scientific information. What is the impact of that intervention to the public and to the socio-economic development? So that I think that the scientific here is not only medicine, but also from other sector. I think it's very important. And the information, scientific information transfer to the people, I think it also need to be very simple, enough, and clarification and transparency. Easier to, very easy for people to absorb and understand the situation. I think it's very important. And so also the government, the role of government here should be use the one is use the information, but also how they drive the other sector, for example, from Ministry of Health or mass media, public mass media, to transfer the right information for the people. I think that the relationship between triangle sector here is very important. Is that to ensure that the public interest can be survived, can be maintained during the public health crisis like COVID right now. So from Vietnam, experience from Vietnam, that at the beginning, when any country announced the pandemic, the epidemic in the country, but Vietnam was one of the first country at that time when we have the information from China, and we have the first 2 cases from China come to Vietnam. So the government already create the platform for the scientific to sit with the government and with the National Committee for the COVID prevention. So we give, at that time, we already try to give the decision to announce that is the pandemic, the risk of the pandemic. so that we have a very good decision at that time. That decision a little bit opposite with the WHO in Vietnam right now at that time. So I think that's one of the very good decision based on the scientific. I think that's our share. That's why Vietnam is one as the first 2 years. Vietnam is one of the countries that have a success in control COVID. So I said I would like to share with the experience in Vietnam. I would like to discuss surrounding that diagram with triangle, the role of the triangle sector like that. Thank you very much.